Hello and welcome to the Ohio Arts Council's Rife Gallery. This is the All We Cannot Forget exhibition's DIY Ekphrastic writing workshop. Today we're going to explore ekphrastic poetry as an extension of the exhibition while our facilitator, poet laureate Kari Gunter-Seymour, walks us through her prompts inspired by this exhibition step by step. Please note there will be dedicated pause points in the video, but please work at your own pace and use this video as you need. All right, welcome, Kari.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Kat. And thank you to all who are viewing the DIY workshop. We're going to have some big fun today or tonight, however the time might be where you are and when you've decided to do this. So I'm going to get us started. Talk a little bit about the exhibition. You can read all of this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on what's written here on these slides, but this is an exhibition that brings into focus things that we're bringing forward from the past. That doesn't mean you have to be influenced by that necessarily in your writing, but you could be. I do, though, want to thank Char Norman, who curated the event. I happen to have work, fine art in the exhibition as well. But it is an incredible exhibition, aside from my own work. And for those of you who do not know, coming to the Rife is free, always free, and coming to the workshops is always free, and the artist talks. So come. This exhibit will be up till the end of January, and you're missing out on things. So if you're near enough to come, please do. But we're going to give you a little taste of it tonight. You will be having access to the Flickr account that has some of the images in it, but I've chosen some images for you tonight to work with. So hopefully you've gathered things together. If you have not, you're going to need writing instruments, whether it be a journal and a pen or pencil. Maybe it's going to be your laptop. Maybe you like to use a sketchbook and write very, very freehand, which I love that thought. I doodle all the time. You can also use loose paper. That's just fine. This is an ekphrastic workshop, which means you're looking at an image and allowing that image to, I like to use the word trigger you to do some writing. But I'm going to do something a little different here. Before we look at an image, I'm going to read you a poem, and I want you to use your ears. And I want you to listen to the poem, then maybe stop the recording for a few minutes and think about what you heard. So here is the poem, and it's in ekphrastic, and the title is Photo 1985. There you are, cherub-faced, rice cake with peanut butter, and little Willie Thompson, balancing yourselves up against that old house in need of paint, your hair curling up in the noonday heat. I remember those Oshkosh bibs and tiny red tennis shoes, and how long not after we made plans to leave the farm without your father. That summer I grew po beans and Roma tomatoes in raised beds filled with bottomland soil and cow manure pushed up the hillsides in a tottering wheelbarrow. By fall, multicolored jars lined the cellar shelves, while zip-locked zucchini loaves rested in the deep freeze, awaiting snowy days when we'd huddle together, grateful for our hand-me-down wood burner. I miss the smell of lilac from the heirloom bush where you would hide, and the cooing pair of mourning doves perched on those electric wires just outside the kitchen window, ever marking the day we left Meigs County, where marijuana grew thick behind barns alongside butterfly weed and gray-headed coneflowers. Those last afternoons, we walked the tracks hand in hand, making up songs, going nowhere. And that's a little poem from my book, Dirt Songs. So I just want you to think about all you could see, smell, hear, maybe touch, maybe taste. So take a little break and think about that. Okay, we're back. So I want you to have the full experience of coming into the gallery somewhat. And so I've selected 7 images from the 12 artists that are involved. And I'd like you to write about one of these. If one of these does not suit, please feel free to choose your own image while you're at home. You can certainly use any image, but I encourage you to use some of these because they're just so wonderful. So this is our first image by Kimberly Chapman. You can look at the title or not look at the title, whether you want it to influence you or not. Katie Mongroven, Lee Brooklyn, John Benvenuto, Isabel Zing, Jessica Pinsky, Tony Williams. So I want you to stop now and go back through. I would really love for you to choose one of these images or one maybe you've brought to this workshop with you that you would like to write about. So get prepared. I want you to really take a few minutes and look at the image you have selected. Okay, so you've chosen your image, you feel drawn to it. I just want you to make a quick, very quick notes or sketches about what caught your eye. And this is a great place to do some doodling. When we doodle, that freedom of your hand sets your brain a little bit free too, so that it kind of doodles in there too. And you might come up with some really marvelous things, but this is just real quick, 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, now I do not want you to look at the poem for a minute. I just want you to concentrate on the image here, okay? So this is one of the pieces that I do have in the exhibition. And the image I titled Autumn Going. Okay, so I want you to consider what's inside this image. You're staring right at this image. So I'm going to help just a little bit here since we can't talk back and forth to each other. Okay, so we see a person walking. Male, female, you decide. Where are they walking? What do we see around it? What's happening with the light? What's happening with color? I'd love you to think about these things as you're sort of discovering how you might want to write ekphrastically. Because obviously this person is inside some sort of closure, right? There's an opening. So are we to write about just the image? Are we to write about being inside this enclosure? Or can we have some freedom to do maybe just a little bit more? So now I'd like you to read the poem. You can take your time, read the poem yourself. Discover what you can in the poem that leads back to this image, okay? But when you're all done reading it and you've picked up some things that lead back to the image and perhaps go elsewhere, I want you to think, what liberties did I take beyond the photograph when I wrote my ekphrastic? And I hope that you'll notice that I have changed the title. It's no longer Autumn Going, right? It's all of a sudden it's an unscheduled day. So do some comparisons, do some reading, and then I want you to contemplate for a few minutes. So turn off, stop for a moment and consider all you've taken in here. Okay, we're going up. I'm having some trouble here with there we go. Okay, so did I skip one? Nope. Okay, so now I am a big person about list making. I often get writer's block. Yes, I do. We all get writer's block, right? Let's be honest, and I do too. And what I find is I have really good luck when I make lists. So let's just say I'm blocked. I can't decide what to write about. I pick up something off my desk. Here's something on my desk. And so I start writing about it. What words can I come up with? Okay, cylinder. I can come up with fits nicely in my hand. Burgundy, white, logo. What was that sound? Pop. And then what does that smell? Oh my God, raspberries. Oh, raspberries takes me back to the first time my granddaughter walked into my raspberry patch. It was amazing. I can still hear her saying, this little 3-year-old carefully plucking raspberries from the bush, being careful of the thorns. So you get my drift here, right? So let's make some lists, okay? So I have thoughts here for you to make some lists with, thoughts that were triggered, maybe connected to circumstances or actual events that have happened to you. Does the art remind you of anyone? So list and describe them. And this is the art that you're writing about, not my art, the art that you have either chosen from the 7 I provided or the one that you're looking at of your own. Then I want you to come up with 5 verbs that describe the action in the piece. Okay, we're back. I want you to describe the scenery. And I'm going to read these real quick. You turn off your sound and stop the video whenever you want to start writing. So I want you to describe the scenery. This would be a free writing process unless you want to stay in list making mode. Describe the weather. And when I think about weather, I think about tone. Okay. Describe the way light interacts. Just like I asked you about how the light interacted in the image that I was writing about. How does the light interact in your image? Describe the characters included in your piece. And if there are no characters, then describe why there are no characters. And then who or what is speaking in the piece. And use that voice. Okay, now, remember when we first started out and I read that poem to you and I was asking you, what did you hear? What did you hear? What did you see? What could you smell? I want you to do that now. I want you to add in more of the senses. Tell me about the color and the texture of it and the patterns. Tell me about the shapes. Tell me about what you smell. What do you hear? And if you were allowed to reach out and touch something inside the piece you've selected, what would it feel like? And then after you've decided what it might feel like, compare that to something else. Rough as sandpaper is a cliche, right? That we hear a lot. And then can you taste anything? Taste is such a strong trigger for your reader. If you can get them to smell and taste what's going on in your poem, you've got them. They will stay there and they will want more. So turn off your video. Let's do some writing. Now we're getting near the end of our practice here. So we've got to come up with the pivot in the story. In poetry, we call that the turn. You know, we're writing about something and then we want it to take a turn, and that's to keep your audience interested. And everybody does this. Novels do this, essayists do this, memorists do it, not just poets. So all of you out there writing, whatever your genre might be, you need that pivot. So again, answer these questions, describe the crossroads or decisions made between 2 options. And when that happens, there are consequences, right? Maybe good or bad. And then you could describe how it could have been different had you made the other choice, or if something else had happened as you were going along. And then we need the dramatic ending, of course. Now, this can be the truth or one you make up. I mean, this entire piece can be the truth or one you make up, right? So allow yourself the really good fun to come up with a very dramatic ending, whether it be the truth or not, right? Let's just have some big fun with this and these wonderful images that have been provided for us to write from. So turn off that video, take the time you need to answer these questions. Okay, I'm going to quit bossing you around in just a few short minutes because now it's time for you to just circle back into all that you've written and extract lines from your list making, from your free writing, and you can make it into a poem or a short story. Believe me, you've got most of what you need right there in front of you now. And what I usually do, my practice is to go back in and underline those sentences or circle the words that are the most impactful to me, that I'm going like, wow, I can't even believe I wrote this. Where did this line come from? I'm so excited about this. And I think you're going to find you have several of those in your writing. So take some wonderful time, go back through, extract, and I will almost bet you can do this several times because you're going to have a lot of really good information already created here for you to jump off of and to write from. And this method of writing ekphrastic, from looking at an image or even a lamp or a tree and letting yourself be what I call triggered from that. This is one time when we can use the word trigger and it's a positive, and let our minds just roam freely into places that we might not usually go. And again, I encourage you to do the doodling. I think writing by hand is a really good practice as well, to kind of allow your brain to disengage and let you just write what comes to you and what's given to you from the image that you're writing about, or if you're out in nature writing. So voila, you've created by way of ekphrastic. And since we can't share poems together, I really hope that you will share some of what you've written with others and enjoy. And thank you so much for having me into your homes. Thank you to the Rife and Kat Sheridan. Thank you to the Ohio Arts Council for all they do, for all of the artists throughout Ohio and even beyond. Many blessings to all. Thanks again.
Thank you, Kari, for the generosity of your time and talent, and for being our wonderful poet laureate. Big thank you to the other contributing artists also for this exhibition, All We Cannot Forget. And then a special thank you to the Ohio Arts Council's board, the legislature, and the governors, all who support the Ohio Arts Council, this great space, and of course, Ohio artists. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.